We dig down into the main source of the story, looking over to every angle of the news and providing the audience a better perspective to the issue. This is Watchlist, where public interest matters. Hi everyone, I am ALVIN PELOBELLO. For today's story, days after Dr. Tony LEACHON resigned in his post as Special Advisor for Non-Communicable Diseases of the Department of Health, the Health Secretary said his appointment was more beneficial to the Filipino people. Now, what are the plans of Dr. LEACHON after his resignation? Now, and how big is this for the Philippines Health Department and to the current administration? Now, let's go straight to our resource person, Dr. Tony LEACHON, former Special Advisor for National Task Force in COVID-19 and the recent Special Advisor for Non-Communicable Diseases of the DOH. Good morning, sir. Thanks for having us your time.
Good morning, Alvin, and good morning to your televiewers and watchers and supporters. Good morning.
Right. Let's begin, sir. After your resignation, do you have your conversation with the Secretary Ted Herbosa upon your resignation for a Special Advisor of Non-Communicable Diseases of the DOH?
Yeah, he sent me a message that he accepted my resignation letter, and he asked me whether I would be willing to help him in the future. Then I told the secretary that I will be supporting him and would actually be willing to help again just in case there will be a need for my talent, skills, and expertise in the future. And that's it. I'm all right now, focused right now on my clinical practice, my family, and some small partnership program, and of course some self-care measures. But I'm pretty okay. We parted ways in a friendly manner, and I think that's all it is right now at the moment.
Now, how did you feel that someone has questioned your credibility as health expert all these years? Kasi nag-serve ka pa as Special Advisor also for National Task Force COVID-19.
Well, there are people with many interests, and I will not even disclose entirely in public on how to defend my credibility and my qualifications. For example, I'll tell you, with much humility and modesty, I was one peso consultant of the Department of Health during the time of Secretary Enrique Ona, when the then Undersecretary Ted Herbosa was with the Department of Health. So I was tasked to be the 1 peso consultant for the Sin Tax Law of 2012. And basically the concept was to increase the taxes or cost of cigarettes and alcohol. And the money generated or the funds generated will be given to PhilHealth at the Department of Health. And with many stakeholders, I was able to lead that, the civil society, and it became the greatest legislation in the last 10 years. The smoking prevalence rate has gone down from around 30% to 15%. And the Department of Health budget right now has been quadrupled or even quintupled with that particular bill. And then I was appointed by President Aquino as director of the PhilHealth, independent director of the PhilHealth of the Monetary Board. And prior to that particular position, I was past president of the Philippine College of Physicians, the most prestigious organization of 10,000 adult specialists. And subsequently, I was also president of the UST Medical Alumni Association. And then after my, during that particular PhilHealth position, we were able also to contribute to the passage of the Universal Healthcare Law. uh, on February of 2019, and that was my last year of working with the government. And then suddenly, during the beginning of the pandemic, I was doing all these daily blogs, and I received a call from the office of the president, of course, requesting me or even mandating me to serve the country. And I was requested by the office of the president, even without a CV or written qualification, and I was asked to report to Camp Aguinaldo together with Secretary Herbosa. So what I'm saying, in my almost a decade of serving the government, perhaps I would not even volunteer my qualifications, because during those time I was in the media providing, of course, inputs and evidence-based and reference-based information. So that's it. The sad part of assaulting you in public without you defending that is the great. I think that's the greatest problem, because you cannot even defend yourself.
Yeah, I understand.
So, but I move on, and I'll just take it in strides right now and accept things as they are at the moment.
All right, good to hear that, Dr. Lechon. Now, Secretary Ted Herbosa said that your appointment is beneficial to the Filipino people, as you have an exemplary knowledge and experience in the medical field. Now, how do you feel about that? That Secretary Ted Herbosa has been commended you kahit ito yung nangyari?
Secretary Ted Herbosa is a friend, and that's the difficulty why, after learning of the incident about 3 days after the budget hearing, so I had this problem of thinking about resigning for 3 reasons. And the resignation only came September 11 after my discussion with Secretary Herbosa. The first reason why I was hesitant, despite the advice of my family and my friends. He's a friend. I've worked with him for more than a decade. That's number one. Number two, my ideas and advocacies can become national policies. I mean, it would be a good tandem when you work with people whom you worked in the past, and trust is there, and you know the track record of each one of you. And number three, I would like to give him the benefit of the doubt that he was just pressured during the Department of Health budget hearing. And since his schedule for the commission on appointment in terms of confirmation has been set on September 27. So I would like to think that I was giving him the latitude of that particular reason why he actually dropped me during that particular exchange with the lawmaker during the budget hearing on September 6.
Alright. Now, sir, balikan ko lang ikalawa mong reason. You have mentioned that your ideas and advocacies would help the national government. Meaning to say, sir, you will continue what you're doing in the past years kahit wala ka na sa posisyon in the government?
Yes. Just like in the COVID pandemic, I will do my daily blogs, not focus on COVID, but focus on non-communicable diseases. I'm prepared for this because this is along my lane as an internist and cardiologist and as a public health advocate. You know, the statement that you need a master's degree to be qualified as a consultant in the department, true, because we know that there was an undersecretary of the Department of Health who's not even a doctor, a police general, and yet the minimum requirement, at least I think, working in the Department of Health is an MD. Many health secretaries in the past have no masteral. I think what is important there is your real experience on the ground, particularly during emergencies. That would matter. Um, I would say I was especially trained for that. I work in the corporate world as well. I work in the Unilever. I work in the corporate world. I had many national organizations. I work as a clinician at Manila Doctors, and I see quite a number of patients on a daily basis that would need your decision-making process. So I'd like to go back again to my advocacy by using the social media. I have some partnership programs like with the province of Bataan and San Fernando. I have some private organizations working on, some with the religious organization, and I'll continue to do that. I think I will be more effective providing this information to organizations that would need my attention and my expertise. So I will be busy. I will be busy. For the moment, I'll just rest for quite a few days and then work again. But this is my lifelong commitment. I think the most important here is that sharing your knowledge um, with a sense of purpose so that you'll be able to help the healthcare system of the country.
All right, sir. Now, was there something that might convince you to take back the position?
Only the president of the Philippines would I would accept it, just like President Duterte, because it's something that if the president of the Philippines would recognize, because I had a short meeting with the president before when he called upon all the health advocates who helped during the pandemic, and I was with 10 other people, with Dr. Ted Herbosa, Dr. Maricar Limpi, the Octa Research Group. We were at the Manila Hotel, and the president honored us by introducing us to the business sector. And if the president, just like President Duterte or President Pinoy, would recognize my abilities, and you cannot refuse that if the president will call you apart again or summon you to lead. Particularly, we have an epidemic of non-communicable disease. I think that's the only time. But at the moment, I would say I would revert back to my private practice, do advocacy work, and focus on self-care and the family. I will continue doing what I'm doing right now, and I think that is for the best interest of my family and also for my health.
All right, sir. Now, you have said on a statement, let me just recode it, sir. I ask you to turn away from the spectacle of the political moves to discredit people doing their jobs and to repair image of our national discourse. Now, can you tell us more where is this coming from and what directly do you mean by that, sir?
Well, the Department of Health should be carved out from the dynamics of the politics. I think the Department of Health should be supported by people, by competent people, by people who are willing to help, rather than attack the Department of Health by politicians or those with vested interests. And by making the Department of Health a political arena rather than a venue for science, for research, and of course for public health, that would be a great problem, because you know that health is basically founded on science and research, and of course on evidence. Now, for someone who's not involved in the in healthcare system and just would dwell on politics, that would be a bad, I would say, a bad sign for the Department of Health. And since we are coming from the COVID pandemic, I think the best thing that we should do is actually focus on how to repair our healthcare system coming from the pandemic. Because we have two epidemics after the COVID. We have the epidemic of non-communicable diseases, heart attack, stroke, cancer, chronic lung disease, diabetes, hypertension. And the other one is mental health epidemic. So many are depressed at the moment because of the present situation. So we need to address that rather than attack the agency that will take care of our health, and rather be an enabler because of your influence and power to help the healthcare sector.
All right. Also, on your statement, you have served as a special advisor on non-communicable diseases of the Department of Health from August 11, 2023 to September 11, 2023 as a volunteer consultant without salary. Meaning to say, sir, you haven't received your salary yet?
Not a single peso. Not a single peso for 1 month. So I've been doing a lot of things and I have not received anything.
But do you plan to at least makuha man lang itong sahod na to?
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Now, I have spoke with Congresswoman Janet Green yesterday, sir. She has been saying you does not have an expertise on vaccinology. Now, how do you respond on this?
Well, I may not have an expertise on vaccinology, but people don't know that I used to work for 2 decades with Pfizer, and we launched several vaccines. I was trained in New York, in Michigan, and part of my knowledge in medicines, not only vaccines, whether it's infection, whether it's in neurology, whether that's in lipidology, infectious disease, would entail knowledge on regulatory process and medicine. So therefore, my job is to master regulatory process and the disease process itself. So that's one thing that they have not recognized. And working with the leading pharmaceutical company in the world, I think that's the biggest asset. That's why during the pandemic, I can talk about research, I can talk about vaccines, I can talk anything under the sun. Because if you're in internal medicine, you are actually an expert in adult medicine, and that would include infectious disease, that will include drugs, and including vaccines.
Now, on the other hand, sir, no appointment has been made. Sabi ni Congresswoman Janet Garin. Any comment regarding this?
I was appointed by Secretary Teder Bosa. So the appointing authority at that time is the Secretary of Health. And I signed a contract. With that. So unless rescinded, of course, by the Secretary of Health. So the appointment was been done. And that was the reason I was there at the Department of Health during the time to sign that particular contract. So the appointment has been made. This is not an appointment that will be forced to the office of the President because it is a director level. I understand that the appointment that would require the imprimatur and approval of the President would only be for undersecretaries and for cabinet secretaries.
Right. Sir, sinasabi din po ni Congresswoman Garin kahapon that you have presented yourself to Dr. Tony LEACHON for this position. Now, ano totoo dito, sir?
Presented
Yourself daw po for this certain position. Sabi niya.
No, they chased me. I did not chase for anything, just like President Duterte and the rest. I'm not going to chase for people because I have a lot of things to do. I'm quite busy with my practice. I usually end my practice up to midnight, almost every day. So I don't need this job. I'm pretty much okay. I have a very decent clinical practice at the Manila Doctors Hospital.
Right. So, sir, isa pa no, about Congresswoman Janet Garin, sinasabi po niya na it's not about you being Dr. Tony Leachon, but it's about your qualification. How did you take this? Was this for you considerable as an attack against you?
Well, you know, I've lived long enough to see politicians, and you need to discern what's truth and what is lie. Several months, 4 weeks ago, I was a resource person in the regional trial court, and I was the expert witness, and I presented the judicial affidavit. Fortunately, the regional trial court accepted my judicial affidavit, and then 1 week after, the ombudsman led by Justice Samuel Martires created a panel and found sufficient evidence for a probable cause. And they're preparing right now to file cases at the Sandigan Bayan. I think the impetus and the trigger for the personal assault and attacks against me, which is actually irrelevant during the Department of Health budget hearing, was really to discredit me and my judicial affidavit, because right now, it is in the courts right now. So I think connecting the dots, and as a physician, I mean, looking at the signs and symptoms, this is one particular moment to assault you in your absence, so that you will be discredited, and perhaps my being witness or a resource person in the Deng Baksha case will be affected. So this is actually the reason. You need to have a motivation why out of the blue during a Department of Health budget hearing, your name will crop up and will occupy national attention. And this is basically to discredit you as a public health expert, so that your pronouncement and written documents submitted to the courts will be affected. And that's a smart move, but I think the courts have decided right now, particularly at the level of the ombudsman.
All right, sir. Isa na lang po. Meron ka bang mensahe patungkol kay Congresswoman Janet Garin after this scrutiny and following your resignation?
I wish Congresswoman Garin the best of luck, and I wish her to have a good health and, of course, a blissful professional career in politics. And as a former Secretary of Health, I'd like to congratulate her for many of her achievements. And I hope the best also for Secretary Ted Herbosa, that he would be able to sail through to the commission appointments next week. So that's all for now.
All right, sir. And you will remain as a special advisor of Secretary Ted Herbosa, right?
No, I resigned as special advisor for
personally,
non-communicable duties, even on a voluntary basis.
Okay. All right. I got it, sir. Maraming salamat, Dr. Tony Leachon, sa oras po ninyo, sir.
It's my pleasure, and thank you very much for the opportunity to add value to the discussion.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, once again. All right, thanks for watching us live, and you may visit EuroTVPH.com for more news and information. You may also watch us via Facebook and YouTube, and follow us with our other social media accounts. This has been ALVIN PELOBELLO, and you're still watching Watchlist, where public interest matters. Stay safe, everyone.